So good day everyone. So this is the report of the group 1. So our topic class is all about intellectual revolutions and societies. So when we say intellectual revolution, it is refers to a period of significant and transformative change in the way people think about the world. It's characterized by emergence of new ideas, theories, and discoveries that challenge existing beliefs and paradigms, often leading to widespread societal shift in various aspects of life, including science, philosophy, politics, and cultures. So these revolutions are not sudden events, but rather gradual processes of intellectual ferment and debate. So next slide is defining science. So number 1 is the science as an idea. So this definition focuses on the conceptual aspects of science. It encompasses the ideas, theories, systematic explanation, and observation related to the natural and physical world. So science in this sense is a collective of knowledge and understanding. For example, the theory of evolution by natural selection is a scientific idea that explains the diversity of life on Earth. And the number 2 is the science as an intellectual activity. So this definition emphasizes the process of doing science. It's a systematic and practical study of the natural and physical world, involving systematic observation and experimentation. So it's the active pursuit of knowledge. For example, conducting an experiment to test the effects of a new drug on a specific disease is a scientific intellectual activity. And then number 3 is science as a body of knowledge. So this definition highlights the accumulated knowledge resulting from scientific inquiry. So it's the subject, discipline, or field of study that deals with the process of learning about the natural and physical world. It's the collection of established facts and theories. For example, the periodic table of elements represents a body of scientific knowledge, summarizing the properties and relationship of chemical elements. And then let's move on to the number 4. Science as a personal and social activity. So this definition emphasizes the human elements of science. It's a means to survive and improve life, intertwined with people's lives, and it's not just a theoretical pursuit but a practical one with social implications. So example of this is the development of vaccines to prevent infectious diseases is a scientific activity that has had a profound and positive impact on human society. So next slide is the scientific revolution. Scientific revolution was the period of enlightenment when the developments in the fields of science and mathematics transformed the views of society about nature. It explained the emergence of modern science, and this took place in Europe, which was started by the publication of Nicolaus Copernicus' books on the revolution of the heavenly spheres and ended with Isaac Newton. And mainly from the 16th to 18th centuries, it involved a fundamental shift from the prevailing geocentric and Aristotelian views of the universe to a new understanding based on observation, experimentation, and mathematical reasoning. So this period saw the development of new scientific methods and the emergence of modern science as we know it. It was characterized by a questioning of traditional authorities and a focus on empirical evidence. Next is the paradigms and paradigm shifts. So a scientific paradigm, according to Thomas Kuhn, is a framework encompassing the commonly accepted views about a subject, conventions about the direction research should take, and how it should be performed. It includes the established patterns, theories, common methods, and standards that allow scientists to recognize an experimental results as belonging to a specific field. So a paradigm shift or revolutionary science occurs when a new paradigm emerges that fundamentally alters the way scientists view a particular subject. This isn't a gradual evolution but a revolutionary change that renders the previous paradigm obsolete or inadequate. The old paradigm is replaced by a new one that offers a different set of assumptions and methods for understanding the world. So this is the diagram depicts the Kuhn cycle, illustrating how scientific progress isn't always linear. It's a cyclical model showing how scientific understanding evolved through phases. So the first one is the pre-science. This is the initial stage where there's no established framework or dominant theory. Many competing ideas exist. And then the next is normal science, a dominant paradigm or a shared set of assumptions, methods, and beliefs emerge. So scientists work within this framework, conducting research to refine and expand upon it. And this is a period of incremental progress. And next is the model drift or overtime anomalies or observation that don't fit the existing paradigm or accumulate. So these inconsistencies cause a growing sense of unease and challenge the established framework. Next one is the model crisis. The anomalies become too numerous and significant to ignore. The existing paradigm is in crisis, and its ability to explain the natural world is questioned. And then the next is the model revolution. A new paradigm emerged, offering a different way of understanding the phenomena. This often involves a fundamental shift in assumptions and methods. So this is a period of rapid change and upheaval. And then the last is that today's new theories. It suggests that the current scientific paradigms are also facing challenges and potential shift. So next slide is paradigm dictates. So number one is what is observed and measured. So this defines what aspects of reality are considered worthy of observation and measurement. Different paradigms will focus on different variables. Next is the questions we asked about those observations. So it shapes the types of questions researchers ask about their observation. So certain questions might be considered relevant within one paradigm but irrelevant in another. And then the next is how the questions are formulated. So a paradigm guides the way in which research questions are structured and phrased. So this includes the choice of methodology and the specific hypothesis being tested. And the next is how the results are interpreted. So this influences how the results of research are interpreted and understood. Different paradigms may lead to different conclusions from the same data. And then the next is how research is carried out. So it dictates the methods and procedure used in conducting research. So this includes data collection techniques, experimental design, and data analysis method. And next is what equipment is appropriate. So it determines the type of equipment and technology considered suitable for research. The tool used reflects the assumption and priorities of the paradigm. So it is very common for scientists to discard certain models or pick up emerging theories. So Thomas Kuhn's concept of scientific revolutions and paradigm shift explained that while science typically progresses incrementally or normal science, accumulating knowledge upon previous research. So sometimes enough contradictory evidence or anomalies builds up to necessitate a complete change in underlying assumptions and methodologies of a field. So this fundamental change is called a paradigm shift. Kuhn argued that these shifts aren't gradual but rather sudden leaps, where the new paradigm doesn't simply build upon the old one, but completely redefine the rules of the game. So Greek cosmology refers to the ancient Greek theories and models of the universe. These theories, developed over centuries, attempted to explain the structures, origin, and evolution of the cosmos. Greek cosmology was characterized by a combination of philosophical speculation, mathematical models, and observation, although their observational tools were far less sophisticated than those available in later eras. So it significantly influenced later cosmological thought, even though many of its specific models were eventually superseded. We began with the invention of the ideas of a scientific theory by the pre-Socratic philosopher. So the pre-Socratic philosophers sought to identify fundamental, unchanging principles that govern the constantly changing phenomena of everyday natural world. So this search for underlying laws of nature is a hallmark of scientific thinking. And they attempt to find underlying and unchanging principles responsible for the constantly changing phenomena of everyday natural world. And the Greeks developed a cosmological theory with the Earth at the center and the planets, Sun and Moon embedded in spheres rotating around the Earth. So the Greeks developed a cosmological theory that placed the Earth at the center of the universe, which we call geocentric. In this model, further developed by later thinkers like Aristotle and Ptolemy, envisioned the planets, Sun and Moon embedded with rotating spheres that develop around the Earth. And then The motion in the heavens were understood in terms of Aristotle's theory of motion. So the motion of celestial bodies were explained using Aristotle's theory of motion. Aristotle's physics, while incorrect by modern standards, provide a framework for understanding movement and change in the universe. So this diagram is layered, showing different realms. It depicts a geocentric models of the universe, meaning the earth is a center. So the top story or heaven is the highest level, containing Olympus, or the home of the gods, and the vault of heaven with star. So the sun or Helios and the moon Selene or Selene are shown in their paths. So in the middle story or the earth, this is the terrestrial realm, depicted as a flat disk or slightly curved landmass surrounded by the river ocean. And then in the bottom story or underworld, below the earth lies Hades, the abode of the dead, and Tartarus, a deep abyss, with chaos at the very bottom. So it shows the pillars of heaven supporting the celestial vault. This model reflects a mythological and philosophical understanding of the cosmos, incorporating the gods and the afterlife into Copernican revolution. So the Copernican revolution refers to the paradigm shift in astronomy that replaced the geocentric or the earth-centered model with the heliocentric or the sun-centered models. So Nicolaus Copernicus is a Polish mathematician and astronomer of the 16th century. Copernicus challenged the long-held Ptolemaic model, which placed the Earth at the center of the universe. So he introduced the heliocentric model in a short 40-page outline titled Commentariolus. This preliminary work laid the groundwork for his later, more comprehensive treatise, De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium, or the Commentariolus, circulated among scholars before the publication of the De Revolutionibus, while De Revolutionibus is better known as the Commentariolus, and represent an important early stage in the development of the heliocentric theory. So this is Ptolemaic and Copernican models of the solar system. So Ptolemaic model in the left, developed by Claudius Ptolemy in the 2nd century CE, is a geocentric, meaning it places the Earth at the center of the universe. So planets, the Sun, and the Moon orbit the Earth in circular paths to account for observed irregularities in planetary motion or retrograde motion. The Ptolemaic model uses a system of smaller circles called epicycles within the larger circular orbits. And then the next is the Copernican model, which is in the right side. So this model proposed by Nicolaus Copernicus in the 16th century. So is heliocentric, which means placing the sun at the center of the solar system. So the planets, including Earth, orbit the sun in circular paths. So this model is a significant departure from the geocentric Ptolemaic model and was a crucial step in the scientific revolution. So he formalized his model in the publication of his treatise, De Revolutionibus Orbium Coelestium, or the Revolution of the Heavenly Spheres. Copernicus formalized his heliocentric models in his treatise, and it was published in 1543. The next is heliocentrism. So Copernicus proposed a heliocentric model, suggested that the sun, not the earth, is the center of the solar system. This directly contradicted the prevailing geocentric model, which placed the earth at the center, as championed by Ptolemy. And the next is the birth of modern astronomy. So the acceptance of Copernicus' heliocentric model marked a significant turning point, so often considered the beginning of the modern astronomy. So the shift from a geocentric to heliocentric view was a major paradigm shift into scientific thought.
Darwinian Revolution, one of the most controversial intellectual revolutions. In 1859, Charles Darwin, an English naturalist, biologist, and geologist, published his book on the origin of species. In this book, he introduced the theory of evolution that population passed through a process of natural selection in which only the fittest would survive. The one who published The Origin of Species is Charles Darwin in 1859. He believed that the evolution of population passed through a process of natural selection, or otherwise it is called the struggle for survival. In this process, the organism who didn't survive to the environment will eliminated or die. Natural selection favors individuals with traits best suited to their environment, increasing their survival and reproduction rate. Over time, this leads to a change to the frequency of those advantageous traits with the population, driving evolution. For example, consider a population of birds with beaks of different sizes. If a drought occurs, making small seeds scarce, birds with larger beaks capable of cracking larger seeds will have a survival advantage. They'll be more successful at feeding and reproducing, eventually leading to a population with a higher proportion of birds possessing larger beaks. Darwin also stated that organisms have the ability to adapt to their environment and would gradually change into something that would be more competitive to survive, process known as evolution. In a period of evolution, the organisms compete with each other over space, food, and other things to survive or avoid being eaten by other organisms in order for them to be more competitive in another mode of survival. The picture shows the natural selection process. It is a fundamental mechanism of evolution, driving the gradual change of species over time. It operates through a simple yet powerful process. Individuals within a population exhibit variation in their traits, often due to genetic differences. These traits are inherited from parents to offspring. Individuals possessing traits better suited for their environment, such as camouflage or disease resistance, have a higher chance of survival and reproduction, passing on their beneficial genes. As a result, over generation, the proportion of individuals with advantageous traits increase in population, leading to gradual shift in the species characteristics. This process, known as adaptation, result in organisms become better suited to their specific environment. So in natural selection process, we have variation, competition, adaptation, and selection. So let us talk about the variation. This refers to the differences in traits among individuals within a population. These differences can be physical characteristics, just like the color of butterfly, behavioral traits, or even sociological processes. Variation is essential for natural selection to occur as it provides the raw material for adaptation. Competition. Organisms within a population compete for limited resources like food, water, mates, and territory. This competition is often fierce as individuals strive to survive and reproduce. The outcome of this competition is influenced by the variation among individuals. Adaptation. This is the process by which a population becomes better suited to its environment over time. It's the result of natural selection favoring individuals with advantageous traits that help them survive and reproduce more effectively. Adaptation can be physical, like the camouflage of a moth, behavioral, like the migration patterns of bird, or physiological, like the ability to digest certain food. Selection. This is the process by which certain individuals with particular traits are more likely to survive and reproduce, while others with less advantageous traits are less likely to do so. This selection pressure, often driven by environmental factors, leads to the gradual change in the population characteristic over generations. The environmental selects for the traits that are most beneficial for survival and reproduction in the specific environment. This is the example of natural selection. In natural selection, the organism with traits better suited to the environment are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing on those advantageous traits to their offspring. Over time, this leads to a gradual change in the characteristic of a population, known as evolution. It's a key mechanism driving the diversity and complexity of life on Earth. But this very much controversial as this is contradictory to the church teachings that the source of life is a powerful creator, made people divided based into their belief, but later on was not fact against teaching of the church and both can coexist. This is a situation where a scientific discovery or idea was initially seen as contradicting religious beliefs, causing division. However, the discovery was later reconciled with religious teachings, showing that both science and faith can coexist. This is a common theme in history where scientific advancements initially challenge religious dogma, but ultimately lead to a deeper understanding of both. Freudian Revolution. In the past, the field of psychology as always under philosophy. Psychology was considered more of an art rather than science. In 19th century, Sigmund Freud was able to change people's perception of psychology with his revolutionary theory of psychoanalysis. Historically, psychology was considered a branch of philosophy. It was seen more as an art of understanding the human mind than a rigorous science. Sigmund Freud, in the 19th century, revolutionized psychology with the theory of psychoanalysis. His work shifted the focus from philosophical speculation to a more scientific approach, paving the way for psychology to develop as a distinct scientific discipline. Psychoanalysis, study of human behavior. It is a scientific method of understanding inner and unconscious conflict embedded with one's personality, ringing from free association, dreams, and fantasies of the individual. Psychoanalysis is like a detective story for the mind. It tries to understand the hidden conflict and motivation that shape our personality, often rooted in our unconscious mind. It uses techniques like free association, dream analysis, and exploring fantasies to uncover this hidden aspect of ourselves. Freud explained that there are many conscious and unconscious factors that can influence behavior and emotion. He also argued that personality is a product of three conflicting elements: the id, ego, and superego. Many believe that Freud's theory had no scientific basis as no empirical or experimental data could support it. But still Freud continued his work. Soon enough people were able to understand the concept of psychoanalysis, which eventually resulted in classifying psychology as a science. Freud's ideas about the unconscious mind and its influence on behavior were groundbreaking. He proposed that our personality is shaped by three forces: the id, basic desire; the ego, reality based thinking; and the superego, morality. While his theory were initially met with skepticism due to the lack of scientific evidence, they ultimately led to a shift in how psychology was viewed. Psychoanalysis helped establish psychology as a science, opening the door for further research and understanding of human mind. This is the three conflicting elements: the id, ego, and superego. When we say id, it is a primal, instinctive part of you. It's driven by basic desire like pleasure, aggression, and immediate gratification. It operates on the pleasure principle, wanting what it wants when it wants it. The ego is the mediator, the practical and realistic part of you. It operates on the reality principle, trying to balance the id's desire with the constraint of the real world and the demands of superego. It helps us to make decisions and navigate social situations. The superego is your internal moral compass, the voice of conscience. It's influenced by societal rules, parental values, and religious teachings. It tells you what's right and wrong, and tries to keep the ego on the straight and narrow. This is the illustration of psychoanalysis, where the id is your desire without knowing what is right and wrong, and the ego is the realistic part of you, and the superego is influenced by your moral values. Knowing what is right and wrong. Mesoamerica. It has contributed a lot of ideas or discovery for archaeology. The temples and pyramids left a lot of architecture that leads us to study more of it. The Maya civilization is one of the famous civilizations that lasted for approximately 2,000 years. These people are known for their works in astronomy. They developed the technology for growing different crops and building elaborate cities using ordinary machineries and tools. The Maya civilization, known for its impressive temples and pyramids, has left behind a rich cultural heritage that continues to fascinate us today. Their accomplishment in astronomy, agriculture, and architecture are testament to their ingenuity and advanced knowledge. They were able to build elaborate cities and develop sophisticated farming techniques using simple tools and machinery, demonstrating their mastery of technology. Their legacy continues to inspire and inform our understanding of ancient civilization. Are the people in Maya civilization. They built hydraulic system with sophisticated waterways to supply water to different communities. The Mayas built looms for weaving cloths and devised rainbow of glittery paints from mineral called mica. They are also believed to be the first people to produce rubber products 3,000 years before Goodyear received its patent in 1844. The Maya civilization was incredibly innovative. They developed sophisticated hydraulic systems to manage water resources, mastered textile weaving with looms, and even created vibrant paints from mica. Their discovery of rubber predates Goodyear patent by thousands of years, showcasing their advanced understanding of materials and technology. The Mayans are considered one of the most scientifically advanced societies in Mesoamerica. The Inca civilization is also famous in Mesoamerica. The Incans made advanced scientific ideas considering their limitation as an old civilization. The Maya and Inca civilization were both highly advanced societies in Mesoamerica. While the Maya excelled in areas like astronomy and engineering, the Inca developed impressive scientific knowledge within their own context. They are both recognized for their significant contribution to science and technology, considering the limitation of their time period. The following were scientific ideas and tools that they developed to help them in everyday life. First, roads paved with stone. Second, stone buildings that surmounted earthquakes and other disasters. Third, irrigation system and technique for storing water for their crops to grow in all type of land. Fourth, calendar with 12 months to mark the religious festival and prepare them for planting season. Fifth, the first suspension bridge. 6. Kipo, a system of knotted ropes to keep records that the only expert can interpret. 7. Inca textile, since cloth was one of the specially prized artistic achievements. The Inca civilization was known for its practical ingenuity. They built sturdy stone roads, earthquake-resistant buildings, and sophisticated irrigation system. They developed a calendar to track religious festival and planting seasons, and even created the first suspension bridge. Their unique system of knotted ropes, called quipu, serve as a complex record-keeping system, and their textile, made from high-quality material, were highly prized for their beauty and craftsmanship. This innovation demonstrates the Incas' advanced understanding of engineering, agriculture, and record-keeping.
Good evening, everyone. My topic is the Aztec civilization. Made substantial contribution to science and technology and to the society. Some of their contribution are the following. Mandatory. The Aztec value on education, that is why their children are mandated to get education regardless of their social class, gender, or age. It is early from of universal or exclusive education. So, ang Aztec civilization ay sapilitan ang edukasyon para sa lahat ng Aztec. Anuman ang kanilang estado sa buhay, kasarian o edad, walang maaring umiwas sa pag-aaral. Halimbawa, kahit anak ka pa ng hari o anuman ang katayuan mo sa buhay, hindi ka pwedeng tumanggi dahil ito ay isang obligasyon ng lahat. Chocolate. The Aztec in Mexico developed during their time in Mayan culture. They used it as currency. The Aztec valued the cacao beans highly and made it as part of their tribute to their gods. So ito po yung ginagamit nila bilang pera ng mga Maya at bilang handog sa Diyos ng mga Aztec. Halimbawa, pag gusto sang isa ka Aztec na bumili ng isang palayok, maaari siyang magbayad gamit ang isang butil ng kakao. Antispasmodic medication. They use a type of antispasmodic medication that could prevent muscle spasms and relax muscles, which could help during surgery. So gumagamit ang mga sinaunang sibilisasyon ng isang uri ng gamot na papamanhid na maaari makatulong na maiwasan ang paninigas ng kalamnan at makapagpahinga ng mga kalamnan na makakatulong sa panahon ng operasyon. Sa madaling salita, meron silang gamot na katulad ng anesthesia na ginagamit natin sa ngayon. Halimbawa, bago mag-opera ng isang sugat, maaaring gamitin ng mga Aztec ang ganitong uri ng gamot upang hindi gaano makaramdam ng sakit ang pasyente at upang mas madaling maoperahan. Chainampa, it is a form of Aztec technology for agricultural farming in which the land was divided into rectangular areas and surrounded by canals. Ang sinampa ay isang uri ng teknology ng Aztec na ginagamit nila sa kanilang pagsasaka kung saan hinati-hati nila ang lupa at ginawang hugis parehaba at pinalibutan ng mga kanal. Aztec calendar. This enabled them to plan their activities, rituals, and planting season. Aztec calendar. Ito yung nagsusubaybay sa oras at nagbibigay sa kanila na planuhin ang kanilang aktibidad, ritual, at para mahulaan ang mga pattern ng panahon. Halimbawa, kung magtanim ang isang Aztec ng halaman, tingnan niya muna ang kalendaryo bago siya magtanim para may katumpakan ang kanyang pagtatanim. Invention of the canoe. A light narrow boat used for traveling in water system. So ang bangka nito, ito po yung ginagamit nila para sa sasakyang pandagat at lakbay sa mga sistemang tubig. Asian. The revolution itself to Asian countries about freedom and independent nationhood along the improvement brought by it internally. Ibig sabihin, ang revolusyon ay nagsilbing isang aral para sa mga bansang Asyano tungkol sa kalagahan ng kalayaan at pagiging malayang bansa. At ang revolusyon ay napapakita kung paano ang mga tao ay maaaring magkaisa para makamit ang kanilang mga layunin at kung paano ang pagbabago ay maaaring magdulot ng pag-unlad at paglago ng isang bansa. India is a huge peninsula surrounded by vast bodies of water and fortified by huge mountains in its northern borders. So sa madaling salita, ang India ay isang malaking lupain na nakausli sa karagatan na napapalibutan ng mga dagat at karagatan sa paligid nito, at mayroon itong malaking bundok na parang pader na nagsilbing proteksyon ng bansa. The Indians are known for manufacturing iron and metallurgical work. Kilala ang mga Indians sa pagiging mahusay sa paggawa ng bakal at larangan ng metalurhiya. Halimbawa ng kanilang mga obra ay tulad ng sandata, kagamitan sa agrikultura at mga alahas. Their iron steel is considered to be the best and held with high regard in the Roman. So mataas ang tingin ng mga Roman sa bakal na gawa ng mga India, dahil ito ay napapakita ng kalidad at kasanayan ng mga manggagawa ng bakal sa India. They're also famous in medicine. So kilala din ng mga India sa paggawa ng mga gamot. Halimbawa ng kanilang mga gamot is yung Ayurveda. Ayurveda is a system of traditional medicine that originated in ancient India before 2500 BC, and it's still practiced as a form of alternative medicine. So ang Ayurveda ay sinaunang sistema ng pagpapagaling na nagmula sa India at patuloy na ginagamit ng mga tao ngayon bilang modernong gamot. They discovered some medicinal properties of plants that lead them to develop medicines to cure various illnesses. So natuklasan nila ang ilang mga halaman na may mga sangkap na maaaring magpagaling ng mga sakit. Nagamit nila ang mga sangkap na ito para gumawa ng mga gamot na maaaring makatulong sa tao na gumaling. Some ancient texts like Susrata Samhita describe different surgical and other medical procedures famous in ancient India. Susrata Samhita, ito yung sinaunang teksto ng India na kung saan naglalaman ng mga detalyadong impormasyon tungkol sa siruhiya at iba pang mga pamamaraan ng medisina. Ancient India is also notable in the field of astronomy. So nagkaroon ng malaking kontribusyon sa larangan ng astronomiya. Ang kanilang mga kalaman at mga imbensyon ay nagkaroon ng malaking impluwensya sa pagunlad ng agham sa buong mundo. They developed theories on the configuration of the universe, spherical self-supporting Earth in the year of 360 days, with equal 12 parts of 30 days each. Kahit hindi perpekto ang kanilang mga teorya, nagpapakita ito ng kanilang malalim na pag-unawa sa kalikasan, ang kanilang kakayahan mag-isip ng mga abstract na konsepto. China, one of the Asian civilizations with substantial contribution in many areas of life, like medicine, astronomy, science, mathematics, arts, philosophy, and music. Ang mga sinaunang China ay nag-iwan ng isang mayamang pamana sa kultura at sibilisasyon na nag-ambag ng malaki sa iba't ibang larangan. Halimbawa ng kanilang pamana ay ang medisina, acupuncture, healthcare, medicine, moxibution, kalendaryong lunisolar at compass ay ang mga halimbawang ito ay napapakita lamang ng isang maliit na bahagi ng mga kontribusyon ng sinaunang Chino. The Chinese are known for their traditional medicine. Ang China ay kilala sa kanilang tradisyonal na medisina na kung saan nakatuon sa pagpapanatili ng kalusugan at pag-iwas sa sakit. Ang layunin nito ay maibalik ang balanse ng enerhiya sa katawan. They discovered various medical properties and uses of different plants and animals to cure human illness. Acupuncture is an example. Nagkaroon ng malalim na pag-unawa sa katangian ng mga halaman at hayop, at ginagamit nila ang mga kalaman na ito para sa paggamot ng mga sakit. Isa sa halimbawa nito ay ang acupuncture. Ito ay isang tradisyonal na pamana ng mga Chino na ginagamit para sa paggamot ng iba't ibang uri ng sakit, kung saan pagpasok ng mga manipis na karayo sa partikular na punto ng katawan. Middle East. The revolution in the Middle East were product of development and growth of individual nationalism, imperialism, for the effort of westernized and modernized Middle Eastern societies, and to the push the declining power of the Ottoman Empire in the Arab region. So ang revolusyon na ito ay ang nagsimula sa iba't ibang bahagi ng gitnang silangan tulad ng Ehipto, Syria at Lebanon, at nagresulta sa pagbagsak ng Imperyong Ottoman. At doon na lumitaw ang mga bagong estado dahil hindi kayang kontrolin ng Ottoman ang kaniyang teritoryo. A Muslim scientist named Ibn al-Haytham is regarded as the father of lights. So si Ibn Haytham, isang Muslim na scientist, itinuturing na ama ng optika dahil siya ang nagbigay ng unang scientificong patunay na ang liwanag ay pumapasok sa mata at hindi ang mata ang naglalabas ng sinag. Ito ay isang malaking pagsulong sa pag-unawa kung paano tayo nakakakita. In the mathematics, the mathematician Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi gave his name to the concept of the algorithm, while the term algebra is derived from algebra, the beginning of the title of the one of his publication. Ang kilala na Muslim na si matematiko si Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi ay nagbigay ng kontribusyon sa matematika. Bukod rito, ang mismong salitang algebra ay nagmula sa aljabr ay isang mahalagang bahagi ng pamagat ng isa sa kanyang impluwensya ng mga publication at ang kanyang gawa ay latag ng pundasyon para sa maraming mga pagsulong sa matematika. African, the fight against colonialism and imperialism in Africa. Ang pakikipaglaban na ito sa kolonyalismo at imperialismo sa Afrika ay mahaba at komplikadong pakikibaka para sa kalayaan at pagpapasya. Ang pakikipaglabang ito ay nagresulta sa kalayaan ng maraming bansa sa Afrika. Was known to be a center of alchemy, which is known as the medieval forerunner of chemistry. Ang Egypt bilang sentro ng alkemya na itinuturing na naunang anyo ng kimika noong gitnang panahon. Habang nakatuon ang alkemya sa mga espiritual na pagbabago at pagtatangkang baguhin ang mga karaniwang metal sa ginto, ang modernong kimika ay nakabatay sa mga pag-agham na eksperimento. Astronomy was also famous in Africa region, for instance. Documents show that Africans used 3 types of calendar. Gumagamit sila ng 3 uri ng kalendaryo. Ang una ay lunar. Ginagamit ito para sa pagsusubaybay sa mga panahon ng pagtatanim at pag-aani. Solar, ginagamit naman ito para sa pagtukoy ng mga panahon at pagdiriwang. Stellar, ginagamit ito para sa navigation sa dagat at sa pagsubaybay sa pagbabago sa panahon. The age of information. This has been the era in which technology has been prevalent. Ito yung panahon kung saan laganap na ang teknolohiya na halos lahat ng ginagawa natin mula sa pakikipag-usap hanggang sa pag-aaral at paglilibang ay apektado nito. At marami din benepisyo, halimbawa, madaling komunikasyon, mag-access na information at paraan para malutas ang mga problema. It is also known as the computer age that has brought so much on how we are living today. So sa panahon natin ngayon, dahil nakapalaga na ang computer sa ating buhay, napabago na ito ang paraan ng ating pagtatrabaho, pag-aaral, pakikipag-usap at maging ating libangan.